What's more likely?
Never say never, but never.
All right, Amy, very simple game. I ask you either or. You tell me which one is more likely to take place. Capiche?
I capiche, but I think you know me well enough to know I don't follow directions.
I understand
So
that.
we'll see how it goes.
I understand.
Also, don't you think that the NFL music makes you feel a little bit more trepidatious? Like don't you feel like something big's going to happen?
What really scared me was seeing all those mathematical equations on the screen.
It's high production value.
You
Amy.
say it's either or. More likely or not. I might go with a push at some point. No pun intended.
That was cute. I like what you did there.
Life's about making decisions. I'm going to make you choose.
He told that to Morgan
We'll see.
Freeman.
Let's
Amy.
go.
I told that
The
to Morgan
audacity
Freeman, and I
of
did
this
not
man.
care.
By the way, are you threatening Amy Trask? Do you know how many people have done that in the past and walked away with their tail between
Not
their legs?
implicitly. I'm not, no.
No. Go with the legal. Not impliedly or directly, tacitly or otherwise.
Yeah, what she said.
Correct. All right, what's more likely? The Raiders start a rookie quarterback week 1 or a veteran that they've acquired?
Well, could it be veteran that they've acquired or have on the roster?
Sure.
I think I'll go with a veteran then.
You think it's Stidham? You think Stidham starts week 1?
That's not an either or.
I'm asking you a direct question now.
Oh, you're allowed to do that. Apparently, I'm being deposed. Okay. Most fun deposition
salute.
ever. It might be.
Wow, that is so legal.
Not a definitive answer.
She gave
All
you
right.
nothing.
She gave me nothing. Nothing. Are they going to draft a quarterback?
I think so. What do I know? I'm just making this up.
Yeah, but you look good doing
what are we
it, so who
every day?
cares?
We're all just making this up. All right, next, let's stay in the AFC West. What's more likely, the Broncos bounce back, make the playoffs this year, or the Colts, who've been playing quarterback roulette for the last 5 seasons, finally get it right?
Broncos. And I'm going to give you a strong, emphatic answer on that one. It'll probably be wrong, but I'm going with Broncos.
Explain.
I think the world of Sean Payton as a head coach. I think it's a phenomenal place for him to be. It's the place I thought he should go. I think Russell Wilson can be more of the Russell Wilson we saw in Seattle, not the Russell Wilson we saw last year. Last year, it was just a hot mess. That's a very technical football term. Hot mess in Denver. Again, the best coaches, best position their players to be their best. And I think Sean Payton will have a tremendous impact on Russell.
Don't you think, though, that we're going to hear something more? We're going to hear a lot more about what happened with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. There's a book somewhere in there. There's an ESPN
Pete said we're good,
360.
And you know what? And
But Pete's
Yeah, but
Pete's Pete.
yes and yes and yes and yes. I love the way Pete and the GM both handled that. They said, you know what? Water under the bridge. I don't know that those were the exact words, but we've moved on. We're not worried about it. They're not going to let it fester. They're not going to make it an issue. You know what? They're going to be grown-ups.
That means there's not something juicy underneath there.
There could be, but they're being adults. And you know what? Here's to people acting like grown-ups.
All right, we've been talking about this forever here. We're going to keep talking about it until somebody makes a decision. What's more likely, the Jets starting quarterback week 1? Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr?
For the moment, I'm going to say Derek Carr only for one reason. If Aaron doesn't make a decision soon, then if you're the Jets, it's either sign Derek or risk losing him to another team that will sign him. And then if for some reason Aaron changes his mind or things can't be worked out in Green Bay, you're left with neither. So if you want to protect against the downside of being left with neither, you're going to want to move on Derek before someone else does.
Very logical.
No, she's a lawyer.
Whoever is the quarterback, though, who's got a better chance of making the playoffs? Like, is it Derek leading the Jets to the playoffs, or can Aaron take them a little bit further?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I'll go Aaron.
Ceiling's a little higher with Aaron, right?
Yeah.
All right, next. We're going to talk about this a lot until something goes down as well. Lamar Jackson, what's more likely? He gets traded or signs a long-term deal with the Ravens this offseason?
I'm going to say long-term deal, not because I think it's necessarily more likely, but I'm channeling to the Ravens, you should do that. Look, if you're going to move on from a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, before you do that, you better ask yourself the question, and do what? And if your answer to and do what is not as good or better than Lamar Jackson, then what the heck are you doing? You know, all the time people will say they should cut this guy, they should trade this guy, they should release this guy. Okay, and do what? You need to be able to answer that question well, at least as well as the status quo, if not better, before you make a move like that.
And the follow-up question is, and where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? What's your plan? I mean, I think that piggybacks onto what you're saying.
Yeah, what's the end game?
What's the end game? Yeah. Who's the quarterback that you think would be more successful than this guy who's proven that he can win?
You know, I had a pretty rough accident on a horse at one point. And don't worry, there's a segue here. But we had an accident. I came off the horse, pretty ugly. And when I got back and got on, afterwards, someone said to me, Amy, you have to have a plan. And her meaning was, when something goes wrong, you have to have a plan. And she's right. And you're right, Suzy. You have to have a plan. And by the way, she was 8, but she was right. I had to have a plan and I didn't have one. You're right. They need to have a plan. And it is piggybacking off of and do what.
Christopher?
Which long-suffering franchise is more likely to have the best chance to make the conference championship next year? Go on a run, sneaky run. Lions or Chargers?
Ooh, this is hard for me. I'm going to give you an answer, but let me tell you why it's particularly hard for me. Jared Goff, Cal Bear. I love my Cal Bears. I want to say Jared Goff. I love you, Jared. Not in a weird, creepy way. But Justin Herbert, on that other pregame show for CBS Sports Network prior to the draft the year Herbert was taken, someone on that show, I won't name names, rhymes with Shmamey, identified Justin Herbert as all that and said teams were not understanding how good he was and how good he could be, and someone better snag him. So I love you, Justin, but I'm going to go Chargers.
You know what this reminds me of? Do you remember Broadcast News? Did you see Broadcast News? Come on, Chris. Are you serious? You don't see anything. Remember the Holly Hunter character?
Yeah.
You do, of course.
Yeah.
And when the head of the network says, what's it like being the smartest person in the room? And she said, it's terrible. Like, I feel like, Amy, listening to you talk like this, it's like you know everything.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
And you do. And then, you know, thank goodness we have you on CBS Sports Network, and thank goodness that you agreed to babysit with me today. But, I mean, what's it like sitting here and you know all the right moves?
Okay, just so we can get rid of the you know everything. So I get home from doing the show on Sundays and I want to watch everything. I want to watch every game on every channel. And I just look at my husband and it's, which remote do I push and what button do I push on what remote? And so now he has the remotes lined up with instructions as to what buttons I push. So, you know, we all need help.
My kid put on the TV for me last night. You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Chris.
Amy, last one. A lot of talk about this going on right now. What's more likely? Dan Snyder sells the Commanders or hell, in fact, freezes over?
I may be in a very small group in this regard. I think I am of a minority position in this. I think he will ultimately sell the team.
Wow.
I think
Full
the pressure
control.
is... I'm sorry?
Full control? Sell all of it?
I don't know if he might try to maintain a minority stake for his children to pass it on to them with parameters around that
Sure.
they can own it as, you know, a vanity share, if you will, as it's often referred to. Maybe he wants to leave a little piece with his kids, but there would be a big fence around that there was no control associated with it. But I do think he'll sell control of the team, if not the team in its entirety. The pressure is mounting. And by the way, you know, who's going to be laughing all the way to the bank? Because whether it's $6 billion or $7 billion, you know, as someone I know once said, that's billion with a B. That's a lot of money. So I do think ultimately he will sell.
Who do you think will buy it?
Oh boy, I don't know. You know, could be any of the rumored names, or maybe someone will pop out. The issue is, of course, and you guys know that, the NFL has very, very strict limitations as to purchases. You can only have a certain amount of debt on the team. There can only be a certain number of equity holders. It's not going to a private equity company or a VC. Not a lot of people can write that check.
Before we let you go, 2 last questions.
I think you and Rich should buy it.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Do you want to let us borrow some money to do
I
such?
will go home and look under the couch.
That'd be great. Thank you for that. We'll ask Al. He gets paid a pretty penny.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.